Welcome to Staircase to Nowhere. Jesus commands us to make disciples, teaching them to obey everything he commanded. This means discipleship is experiential, lived out in real life, more like trade school than a classroom. In today's show, we talk about ways that we have experienced this in the church and discuss a helpful way to think about discipleship from John Mark Comer's new book, Practicing the Way. If you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star review or consider sharing this episode with a friend. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email us at staircasepod@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media, exclusively on Instagram. Well, we hope you enjoyed today's episode on Church and Mission. Please buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to your favorite episode of Staircase to Nowhere.
I thought the other one was their favorite.
Well, there's a new one.
Yeah, you can have a new favorite.
Yeah.
This is a podcast by 3 guys who are not experts, but just guys who know some things.
We're some guys.
We're some guys, and we know some things. My name's David, and I am a staff member at the illustrious Taylor University, which is a school.
That was a really good description.
Thank you. I get paid to explain the school, so obviously, yeah.
This podcast
I'm
I
Sam.
hear has done a lot for driving enrollment for the school.
Yeah, that's what I
Needless to
hear.
say.
It's really been a power driver.
The
for
marketing
enrollment.
team's been talking to me.
Yeah, that's really great.
They
I'm
want to put a
Sam.
sticker on it that says podcast full.
That's fantastic. I'm Sam.
sorry,
I
Sam.
do outreach services here in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm proud to introduce the third buddy of the bunch, Noah.
Hello. I'm the buddy of the bunch. My name's Noah. I'm a seminary student. I also work at the YMCA. One of our members we call the Banana Man. You saying buddy of the bunch made me think of him. Because he arrives at the Y every day with like 4 or 5 bananas. And if I make
Does
a
he eat them
comment
all?
like,
How many does he leave with?
Yeah.
I'm like, Bob, why you got so many bananas today? He goes, you want one? I'm like,
Oh,
sure. So he
They're
brings
to
the bananas
distribute?
to give
Take
them away.
his bananas?
He gives away bananas.
Does he work for
He's a
Walmart?
banana man. And
Hey-o.
then he says he puts the rest in his locker. No one's supposed to have overnight lockers, especially not with
Dude.
bananas.
banana bread.
Daylight come and you want to go home. Noah, why are you
Yeah?
looking so fresh and so clean today? What
Did
is
you
going on?
Did you get new glasses?
What,
that
do you have
No,
a
I don't
new?
wear glasses.
Did you get your
Oh,
new
can't be that.
AirPads?
No, it's makeup for men. I got a haircut. That's what Sam always says. He says a haircut is makeup for men.
I say that?
Yes, you made that up. You don't remember this?
No, I just spew content. So sometimes when I, like makeup for men, it just kind of like,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
just
know what
rolling
I say.
off there.
Just rolling off.
just-
it's like
Give me
uh,
another one. Give me another one.
It's like in Mad Men.
I've repeated that so many times, but the truth is you probably said it 10 years ago. So,
That's probably said that when I was 17 and a half. And you were like, oh yeah, Sam says this.
Sam always says it.
Sam always says this one
But,
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, you did get a haircut.
you know?
Looks nice.
Well,
Looks
thanks.
nice.
I finally found a barber in Atlanta. I had been going to.
Yeah,
once
they
I
don't
moved
have
here.
any. It makes sense. Yeah.
There's just no barbers. I tried so hard. Man, we've talked about my haircuts multiple times on this show. It's been cut before. But the first barbers I went to here were like $40, $50, and I was like, I cannot pay that much for a barber.
What did he
And
have
so
on his
then
hands?
Did they wear gloves there? Did they wear gloves?
One was a lady. I mean, I don't.
You're paying
I don't
$40
understand.
for a gloveless barber?
Ladies can wear
ridiculous.
gloves too. I'm just newsflash.
Lady
Go ahead.
barber. I don't know. Call
I
me a
think that's-
traditionalist. But at the I found a barber school.
You're going to a
right
new
across
school?
What?
You're going to a new school?
No, I'm not going to barber school. I go to the barber school, but okay, I see how that could be confusing. But
See,
I go to get my
semantics.
hair cut. And so it's like right across the street from our house, which is really great. I could walk, but I don't because it's like crossing a 5-lane highway. And
Don't blame you.
that's not
City
walkable.
planning. City planning.
Seriously, we're back to it.
Local
And
elections.
this barber school is so cool because, I mean, number one, it's $8 haircuts. But number two,
Woo!
it's so fun. Like, the first time I walked in there, the instructor was like, all right, AJ, you're going to be cutting Noah's hair. And she was like, I can do it. And I was like,
No, you can't.
What?
That's what
And
I like to hear.
And she's like, I've never cut straight hair before. And I was like, oh, you can do it.
And you just see like band-aids all over her hands and everything.
And so she
How did her
my
hair look? Did she have nice hair?
Oh yeah, I mean,
I always judge my barber based on their hair.
Yeah, the barber I went to before this, the one I have now, one of the other barbers, my hair was getting cut, and he was like, "Dude, you are on fire today." And he was like, "You've been giving good haircuts today."
Oh,
And I asked, "I was like, do you guys have like bad days?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't think you're
but not
supposed
today.
yeah, but today,
Not today." But it was very funny. I was like, I never thought about that. Where they're like, "Yeah, some days you're just in a slump.
You're
They
just
don't
off
come
your
out that
game."
great." And I'm like,
Your girl
"Good
broke up with you.
I hope I'm not in the chair on the days where you're having, because this affects me for like 40 days. Like, this is a big
Or
thing.
me for a year. I
Yeah.
get an annual haircut. So
You know, your vape is out. You're just you're out. You're having a bad
Yeah,
day. What? Your barber's
I'm having an
vape?
off day.
Caitlin is my barber, so no, she doesn't.
Oh,
vape.
okay.
Back to your story, Noah. Sorry, we're getting off.
So anyway, the barber school is so fun because like she was very like unconfident and stuff at first, but she'd just gotten started, and the instructor was there for like hands-on. Like he did one side of my hair, she did the other
Oh.
side. She got to match
Aw.
what he had done. At the end of it, he made sure it wasn't looking crazy. He made sure I looked good going out the door. And
What a guy.
basically every time I've gone to this barber school, I've had a different person do my hair. And very often they're like pretty new. They're all on a journey to get, I think it's 1,500 hours. And so they like have to log a lot of hours of practice. And I get to be some of their practices. And it's fun because like whenever you sit in there, there's always an instructor walking around, checking everybody. There's also always other students just staring at you.
Ooh, weird.
And
Nope, I'm out.
yeah,
I'm
it's
out.
so funny. Like you're sitting there and you almost don't feel like a person because they're just like looking at like your head a lot, but not looking
No.
at like your face or your eyes.
Not
They're
worth
just
the
like
$8. No,
observing. It's totally worth it.
no, I
And-
don't want people staring at the back of my head. I don't like it.
And yeah, they do hype each other up. They're like, "Yeah, you got this. Wow, you're doing that thing." You know?
Great
And,
snips, potato chip.
That's the
Nice.
exact hair I would have cut if I was doing this.
Or they're like, "Oh man, where'd you get those clippers? Oh,
Nice.
bro."
Wait, do
That's
they not
what-
have like regulation clippers?
No, you buy clippers.
Dude.
You buy your own
Wow.
clippers.
Never
Every
touch
barber's got
another
their own
man's
tools.
equipment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like he's like, "Wow, where'd you get that comb? I just have the comb from the starter pack. I didn't level up to the new comb yet."
No.
And- So I just love like hearing them like talk about the equipment. I love when the instructor comes over and he just like teaches. You know, he's like, "All right, so this is called the precipitable line." Or is that what it's called? I don't remember. I'm not in
We're
barber
not
school.
barbers.
Yeah,
But he like
well, you practically
talks
are
about,
at this point.
he talks about all the lines, the shape of your head, how you want to like do different things, open the grate or whatever it's called, close the thing, use the numbers. And it's just really fun because I'm sitting there in this barbershop and I'm like, this is discipleship. Of
I love how your
course.
brain works. Yeah.
Of
Of course
course.
that's what you think.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of
Someone
course
must
my
be
brain is doing
must be a
that.
seminary student.
Because the reason the barber school got started is the guy who started it owns shops. He was a barber and he owns shops. And he wasn't pleased with the guys who were working in his shops. And he's like, "Man, they're just not at the level of quality that people expect from my shop. And so I need to start training barbers." And so he opened a school. And there's all these people who are looking for a career. Maybe they cut hair in their house, but they want to get licensed. and he is teaching them his ways. Like, he's the master barber. They get to come alongside him, and he gets to teach them up front. He's got like a screen, and they do some like sit down classes and stuff. But so much of the teaching is that lab experience. It's the logging your 1,500 hours. It's like getting in there, and first they start with like these like models that have lots of hair. And so they're you see the people who are new to school like clipping the hair of the models.
They have like the
then
scissors you cut Play-Doh with. That they're like,
No, yeah, you start with Play-Doh, right? Yeah.
yeah.
And then they graduate to the real heads, the paying customers, the $8 customers.
Just like you. Yeah.
Yeah. And they go, you can do it. And they hype them up and they encourage them and they give feedback along the way. And I was like, wow, this is what Jesus said when he said, make disciples, teaching them to obey everything I commanded you.
That's good.
That church is supposed to be like barber school. It's this experiential learning. So that just like brings us into this question of kind of evaluation analysis. How do we normally do discipleship in the church today? Does it look like barber school, or what's it look like?
Well, we'll say it again. Great setup. That's a
fun,
that's a great illustration, because I think, as you were kind of explaining the story, if I hadn't been made privy to where the story was going before we got on the air, I would have been like, this is probably a good way to teach. But you're so right. Like, that's how Jesus taught, and he told us to do the same thing. To answer the question, how does it look today? I think it can look like that experiential thing. I do think, a lot of times discipleship is more reduced to materials, though. Like, and I think, there's probably, I'm not going to look it up, but even, there's probably like a drop down on Lifeway's website for like discipleship materials, that discipleship is a curriculum, or discipleship is content. So that's, and it is, and kind of in the barber school analogy, it is, but it's this and something else. It's like content and action. So I think there is this tendency to view discipleship as one dimensional, where it's just this, it's words, it's truth, it's understanding. And when that kind of goes back to our deconstruction conversation a little bit of like, if discipleship is just what you profess and what you know, but doesn't affect what you do, it's really only half of the equation. So, I think if we start to tease it out, like, well, what does discipleship look like in our churches? The word kind of content comes to mind, or just that class, just that head knowledge. We think sometimes we stop there in our discipleship. We're just trying to transfer information to people. David, what do you think?
Yeah, like a plug and play. Like, we've developed this whole thing, and you just have to put yourself into it, and you just have to follow the directions, and then you'll be discipled, and then that's the end of the program.
Yeah.
Have the churches you guys have been a part of like had a discipleship pathway that's been like clearly like laid out, like this is what it means, or has it been more of just kind of like, okay, you're a Christian now, so be a disciple, meaning come to Sundays, come to Wednesdays, be in a small group, do the activities that we do?
I've tried to model in the churches I've led in the sense of like, okay, you're going to come with me and we're going to go visit some people. You're going to come with me and we're going to run errands. You're going to come with me and we're going to have meetings. And so I've tried to model that, and that's not always possible for everyone, but by explaining, discipleship is how you live out every day. I think that has helped people. Now, they do need tools and resources to help them to be a disciple every day, right? And there can be curriculum that can help them with that. But the curriculum is not the discipleship, it's the daily thing.
And what you're saying, like, it's not you don't arrive at some pinnacle point. Like, for
my Awana friends, there was a point where you beat the game, where you get all the crown, you get all the jewels in your crown, and you are like, I did it. I got the bronze, silver, and gold, whatever they were. I did it all. And that, like, discipleship isn't that. It's not this place where you arrive at and you're like, oh, I am, I maxed out. I did it. I did the thing. It is this ongoing, it's this ongoing process that is being shaped into the image of Christ. It's being a learner of Jesus and this apprentice. So in some ways, the original question, Noah, about like, how do churches have our churches or different experience had this maybe program or model for discipleship? I think defining terms is helpful, because like I've never been a part of a church to be like, once you do all these things, you're officially a disciple of Jesus. Like I haven't, and I don't think that would work, right? Like it wouldn't make sense. That language wouldn't make sense. But I don't know if I've been in a space where we even use the language of, well, I don't know, like where I'm thinking about, like right now, we don't use the language of like discipleship as much as maybe I did earlier in life or in some other spaces. But we're still doing like discipleship activities. Like we're in our church now, like we're trying to serve meals together. We have like, Bible study that is interactive and isn't just sitting under one person. It's like one person's teaching, but then the group's like conversation and sharing and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it would be cool to kind of think through what it, like, discipleship pathways, or using that, being more explicit about that. So yeah, that's kind of an incomplete answer, but it's gotten me, even right now, it's got me thinking about, are we explicit about it? So
Okay, so thinking about discipleship as curriculum, discipleship as life together, discipleship as something vague that we don't really define, so it's like, we kind of know that this is supposed to be the goal, making disciples. That's what Jesus told us to do. But then, like, what does it look like in actual life? It's interesting that you said curriculum, Sam, because when I took a disciple-making class in seminary, my professor had been a missionary in Southeast Asia and was basically like, the Bible needs to be our discipleship curriculum. Like, we need to be able to use God's word as the curriculum so we can teach people how to use God's word, because why should Christians around the world need to have a publishing company that produces, hundreds of curriculums for them to do so that they can move on to the next one, to the next one, to the next one? He's like, that's very rare that we have so many kind of like workbooks in English. Like, that's not how the church has been throughout history, and that's not how it is around the world. Why should we expect discipleship to be, well, we go through this workbook and then we get another workbook once it's done, and we always kind of get the Bible like mediated to us. We get it mediated to us through like someone else's teaching.
Like devotional
curriculum.
Content.
A devotional, rather than learning how to learning everything that Jesus commanded. Teaching
meditating
them to obey
on the word of God.
from him. So I think discipleship is best seen in this experiential learning. This is what Jesus was doing, being a rabbi. And I've been reading this book. It's the big hot book in Christian circles these days. It's the new John Mark Comer, Practicing the Way. I got it for Sam for his birthday because we're nerds.
Dweebs.
Practicing the Way, John Mark Comer, and his little byline here is, be with Jesus, become like him, do as he did. And he's basically saying that's what it means to be a disciple of Jesus. He really lays out like the word disciple has been used a lot in church to talk about like going to a class or like
Yeah.
going through a workbook. And he's like, that's not what was happening at all in the Gospels. And so the word that he chooses to use to kind of like wake us up to the reality of what this actually was is the word apprentice.
Yeah.
And so he's saying we don't really have a concept for disciple anymore, but we still know what an apprentice is. The
Yeah.
barber school has apprentice barbers going to learn under the master barber how his techniques are, how you run the barber business, how you do all the things. And at the end of this, they want to be like their teacher. They want to be a barber, and one day they want to open a shop. Maybe they're even going to open a school and train other barbers. They're going to be equipped to do the things that their teacher did. And that's the context that Jesus was living in. He was a rabbi, a teacher. There were other rabbis. The idea when a rabbi called a disciple was he taught them all of his teachings. It was called a yoke. It was a tool to walk through life. He gave them all of his teachings, and then they were meant to do it, to be with him, to become like him, and do as he did.
Well, I can just to chime in and say, in my own spiritual like growth and understanding, diving into some of the context and learning more about what those rabbi and disciple relationships look like, and that like that if you're looking for something to study or just kind of brush up on and read on, like even if you just hop on Wikipedia and like read up on like outside of, just the New Testament, look at some external sources, even just casually, and read about, if you've never done it before, read about what it meant to follow a rabbi. It's really transformative for understanding what it means when Jesus says, go and make disciples of all nations. Like go and replicate this. Because like the goal Noah just talked about, and I know the book kind of brushes up against it too. Like the goal of a disciple was to literally, it's to become the image of their rabbi if they can't. Like that is the aim, is to you go where your rabbi goes, you sleep where he sleeps, you do what he does, you teach what he teaches. Like you are, the goal is for your life to be conformed to theirs, because they are, bringing, God's teaching in a really profound way. So we believe that Jesus is the ultimate, he's the ultimate rabbi, he's the ultimate prophet, he's the ultimate all of these things. He's not just some moral teacher that we're trying to conform our life to. He's the fulfillment of all things. So yeah, but just that language, that New Testament language starts to pop more when you get that historical context of like when Jesus says, drop your nets and follow me, why they did it and why they took it so seriously and why they stuck with him, because it was this really, it's a pretty interesting bond to read about the historical context of that rabbi disciple relationship. So just that's been a really transformative thing for me to learn about just historically and for me to meditate on. So I know he talks about that in the book a little bit, but I'm just going to go ahead and insert that there for further reading for folks.
Yes. In the book, he talks about how we wrongly use the word disciple as a verb. And we often will say, no one has discipled me. And he, like, people will talk about, like, I've been in the church all this time, but no one's discipled me. And I've even used words like that, like, who are you discipling?
Yeah.
And I thought those were the good Christian words to use. But
that's what we're supposed to say.
He's like, we are supposed to be disciples of Jesus, and that we're supposed to model our lives off of him, and we're invited to be in a relationship with him. Even all these generations later, we are learning from others, and there's this element where Paul says, imitate me as I imitate Christ. But Jesus invites us to know him for himself and to become like him. Not necessarily just becoming like our mentors, but that we're supposed to model our lives off of Jesus.
It's like it's our namesake, little Christs, Christians.
We're back to little Christs, the Christitos. So this is discipleship. This is an experiential learning. This is trade school. So how have you guys experienced discipleship more like trade school in your life?
When I was in seminary, my pastor, his name was Zach Mearcreeps, really modeled.
Shout out
Zach Mearcreeps. He's the guy. He really modeled for me that come and see, go and do mentality. The first day he met me, he was like, David, like, how can we make this church more hospitable? Right?
Ooh.
And so he like asked me, and he's like, well, maybe a sign here. And then he said, whatever, I gave some ideas, whatever. And he said, David, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, I don't know. He's like, I'm having a meeting with some business leaders. Will you come with me?
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, obviously I'll come with you. Like, and so he really like shows what it would look like to me, a good model of discipleship, of bringing people in. And that's why I've done a lot of that myself. And then the church that he led, he would only preach once every 6 weeks, right? He was training and equipping the lay folk to preach at that church. And he would meet with them and give them some advice and some pointers. And they had and so that was really one of the better models I've seen of discipleship, right? Like people actually living what Jesus was calling them to do.
Yeah. Powerful.
Yeah, that was, I mean, definitely my youth group experience was very much rooted in the don't just hear this, go and do this thing.
Yes.
That idea. And yeah, it was incredibly formative because when the actions of your hands can reinforce the truth in your mind, right, and heart. So when you're saying like, Jesus is truly good, and then you're going into your community and actually trying to, be the hands and feet that you're preaching about. It's really transformative and grounding. So, that my youth group time, and I think a lot of youth groups are that way for people. And I think we joke. I don't know if we joke. Sometimes I joke in my own head about like, why aren't churches just youth groups? Like, why don't we just treat it all that way? Because I think we take that really seriously with young adults, like sending people, like getting them on mission trips, getting them to do service projects, getting them together to have shared experiences and integrate their lives. And that's really, a lot of youth groups are about that. And then that kind of, for some reason, remains a thing for youth. But that's really the call of the church, is to let this truth drive us into our communities and integrate our lives together and stuff. So yeah, in our high school days, we were super empowered to go into neighborhoods and do outreach in apartment complexes and go and do cleanups or go share the gospel at skate parks and different, it was just really, we were sent sometimes recklessly, but who cares? It was a blast.
Yeah, there was a lot of empowerment. There was a lot of trust.
Yeah.
I think sometimes about the things we were allowed to do. When I was in 7th grade, I got to do skits for camp and for middle school youth group.
Did you do Lifehouse skits?
Oh, we did.
Oh my!
I played Jesus and pulled the girl back.
You know how many
devil?
people have been permanently harmed by that skit?
I was Lust. I got to be Lust.
Of course you were, and so because you're handsome.
Because I'm so handsome. Because I'm so handsome.
There was so much giving away of authority, of the empowerment of go and do this. And even when we were so young, and I even thought about this when I was in youth ministry, how we thought a lot about the relationships between adults and students, but we didn't think as much about the relationships between the students. And that was what was so impactful for us, that we formed our own groups, that we were holding each other accountable. And just like giving students the opportunity to put their faith into action and like let this be an experiential learning. Like I think about how we learned what the gospel is, but then when we had to go communicate it to strangers on the street, like it got a little bit more real to us on what it is. Like the classic story is when Sam and I are in the streets in Lakeland, Florida, and we're talking to this one woman about the gospel. David, have I
I'm
told this story
face-palming.
to you yet?
Maybe? I don't know. Keep going.
And Sam's big evidence to this woman that the Bible and the
Dude,
gospel
I
is
had her.
true.
Yes, I remember this one.
Yes, we've shared this. But it's just like his big evidence was that
Well,
the sun
you gotta-
stood
yeah,
still in
Yeah.
Joshua, and NASA proved it.
NASA proved that the sun stood still, like Joshua said, and I told her that with gusto, and was like,
And I loved. I
Believe and
remember the woman's
repent.
response.
And she's
The
like,
woman was
"Who's
like,
Joshua?"
she was like, "Well, I don't know anything about that."
and I was like, dang it.
Dang it.
That
was
was
like,
my nail in the coffin.
Which Josh? I don't. Josh Peck. Josh.
Yeah.
Like,
But like, I think that there was something so special in our youth group because of like our pastor Kevin's focus on missions and on like community engagement, that like that was the time when we like put feet to our faith. You know, that it wasn't just like learning in a classroom. It was like there was labs, and the labs were through serving and through sharing the gospel and through going out.
Yeah. The word is grounded in the real world. And that's even something like that I've heard it said, like that rabbis wouldn't teach on something unless they could point to it. So, and if you think like just thinking about that, like in the way that Jesus talks, right? Like consider the lilies and how they grow, like Jesus pointing at these flowers, like, when he's using illustrations, when he's like talking about things that are so grounded and real in people's lives, and things that he's probably pointing to, that he's using sermon illustrations that are tactile. And as he's walking with his disciples, he's like, yeah, look over there. Like, when they're Caesarea Philippi, like brings his disciples there and says, who do you say that I am? Like, and like, and so much of Jesus's teaching is grounded in just it's not a classroom. It's so interactive. It's like Jesus is interacting with creation and with culture and with all these things as he teaches, to really to show his disciples, show us that this thing he's talking about isn't just this classroom heady thing. It's very tied up into culture, into creation, into us. So I think that one, just Jesus as that model for teaching about how he's so good at pointing out things and showing how they connect to truth. And then two, what we were just talking about, that experiential. I mean, that's what Jesus does with the 72, and like in a gospel, he teaches for a while and he says, okay, now go and heal. Like, I'm going to send you out and go be ready. Gives them a little bit of marching orders and then sends them. And ultimately he sends all of us again in Matthew 28. But yeah, it sounds like, Noah, what you're bringing out, you're kind of teasing out of us, is this distinction between that curriculum model of discipleship. It's like, that's one label. How would you describe the other label? Like, do you just say discipleship? Are we just saying discipleship isn't curriculum? It's what? Is it experiential? Is that the word we would use? What do you think?
It's experiential learning. It's
there it is.
Done throughout life. It's trade school. It's not just a classroom. Like, even you just talking about Jesus's teachings, how he pointed to stuff, like, where do we do most of our teachings? In a climate controlled room with a microphone. It's like, you can't point at anything because you're not in people's real lives at that point. You're in this kind of like artificial setting. But that's not where he was teaching. He was out and about. And I think some of the best stuff that we got in youth group was like when we were preparing for a mission trip. We would meet on Sunday nights and we would have our like choir practice so we could sing. And we would have our drama practice for our little skits. But then there was also PK's Gospel Nuggets. And it was like, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes of Kevin just sharing practical how to share the gospel, how to pivot conversations to be about Jesus, how to be praying and seeking God to work. And then when we went on these mission trips, we put it in action. So much to the point that when we came home from Atlanta, we were like, there's nothing special about Atlanta. We need to do this here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it became like we were 16-year-old kids going out to an apartment complex, knocking on doors and asking parents if we could hang out with their kids once a week after school. And they said yes. And now here we are over 10 years later, and one of these boys is still reaching out. He's 19, and now he's like, I remember you guys being someone who cared for me at a time I needed it. And like, we're still trying to point him to God. And it's just like, it's crazy how, God can use these little 16-year-olds trying to put their faith into action when it becomes not just like something that we do on Sundays or something that we go to a conference to learn about, but it becomes a truth that we live, that we have to put into practice.
Yeah. Well, I think you said what I was looking for. You said discipleship isn't, you said it's not curriculum. Discipleship is trade school. I think that's a really fun thing to think about. And that's a good way to keep us thinking. So there it is. I think that's what I was trying to fish
We got
for.
your Instagrammable bite.
Yeah, our clip. You mean Facebook clip?
I mean, I need the content.
Real content machine. So,
for those of you who aren't watching, we're just making weird motions on the video.
That's how we transition.
Transition motions. Sam literally jumped off his chair.
We're dancing to the music. So, how can we make church more like Barber school?
It's impossible. No.
Is it?
Here's the problem. I think we have these ideals, but it takes a lot of work to change something this big. Right?
Sure.
Like we have systems in place and we have devices and all this. And so to do a massive pendulum shift may not be the move. I think it's slow, incremental changes. And I think we're already doing it. I think we are incrementally changing. It's the language the folks preaching use, right?
Yes.
When they talk about discipleship, our language matters. And so how the church communicates the reason for gathering, how the church communicates the reason for the building, how the church communicates why sermons matter, why life groups matter, everything. It's that incremental, slow change to help people have that worldview shift. That's my take. That's how you do it.
I think, and there's a lot of wisdom in that, because I think there was a time when I would be more like reactionary, be like, we just need to start all over and do something totally different, and not like. And I think I've just kind of changed in my posture towards wanting to nudge people. And not that I have all the answers, that we have them all, but if we're like, I think we're onto something over here as like leaders, not just being like, we have to like jerk the wheel. It's like, it's that gradual, like turning of like turning a large boat. Like, it's like, okay, we need to start changing direction, but like trust that it's going to take a little bit of time. And if we pull too hard, we're going to lose people, and we're going to lose people for the wrong reasons. We're not going to lose people because they're like, because they're unfaithful and they're not like, then we're doing a poor job of developing them. Like we need to, if you just come in Sunday and say, we're going to start doing church outside forever, and if I can't point at it, I'm not going to teach it. Like it's just like, it's like, whoa, okay. If my pastor said that, I might be like, that might be a little drastic. Yeah, that feels like a lot.
But
I get it, but I mean, David, what you're just saying about that incremental, like, just chip away at it. Like, try to find our true north, and then just start doing the best we can to steer the ship. So I guess the natural question is like, what do we do to steer the ship? And you just said some things about like just the language we use, even from stage and preaching, the vocab. What else would you guys say are ways that we can kind of steer the ship?
Inviting people in. like inviting people to pray together with you, or inviting people to go with you, to invite someone to, like, we were inviting people to our church's VBS. We wanted people in the community to come to VBS. So I was going to go to the neighborhood, and I took like 3 other people with me who'd never done it before. It's something that I have done before and feel much more comfortable with than most people. And so I brought some other people and just like brought them in. I think there's lots of opportunities like that we just get to bring people into living it out together. I heard of a pastor who wanted to go visit all of his members at work. He just wanted to see where you spend most of your time. And I thought that was cool. Like just to get to see your church members' environments, to get to meet their coworkers, to kind of understand like what their daily life looks like. That helps for your preaching, to kind of know what you're preaching towards applications. But then also it kind of helps like to better be able to encourage them in the place where they get to serve God with their everyday life.
One of the guys at the church I was working at before, he's kind of your gruffer type, and his wife went to church. He didn't go to church, and he was like, I don't have time for it, whatever. And one day, the pastor of the church came out and saw him splitting wood, and he spent a couple hours just splitting wood with him. And that made a huge impact on this guy. And now he's on like every board at the church. He's, he's helping out all the time. And I think that little act of like, okay, I'm going to extend this. I'm going to come and see you. I was like, so.
It just feels like good old fashioned pastoring to me.
Honestly, yeah.
Not like the splitting wood, but just like that. Isn't it funny how we're sitting around talking about like, what a novel idea to be like a pastor who's involved in the life of your people. Like,
what a crazy idea.
What a crazy
to know
thought.
your parishioners.
Well, and I say that because I think maybe there's people listening to this who are like, haha, what's so funny? Like, aren't pastors supposed to preach on Sunday mornings and like lead program and sell us books and
be on podcasts?
But, like, and start podcasts. But that's a newer fad that pastors aren't involved in the lives of people, right? It's like, it's a new concept for shepherds to not be involved with the lives of their sheep. So,
not a good fad.
We're
not
influencer
a good fad.
Sheep now.
We're influencer shepherds. Yeah, we have filters on and lead. But no, I think, I just say that to people listening, maybe like, we're all joking about it, but some people listening be like, oh yeah, I never thought about that pastoral role or whatever that means to help mentor and push people to be disciples of Jesus does mean being very involved with their lives. So.
And when I think about this, how church can be more like Barber school, I think there are some spaces that church is like Barber school. Like there are real spaces where we experience this. And a big one, I'd say, David, is like you getting to live in the dorms and have this like 4-year experiential learning experience in Christian community. It's not a church. It's not organized that way, but you guys, being the body of Christ, have this opportunity to disciple students. Like, I don't know if there was a time more formative in my life thus far than those 4 years of living around other men who are pursuing God and being silly together, while also, having a lot of homework and trying to prepare for a career and figure out what to do with our lives. Like, it's a very big period of life, and like just getting to be walking alongside people in that, like that's huge opportunity. Maybe if you are part of a church, recognizing that students in college like are in this important life moment, how can I invite them in, even just over to our house after church on Sunday? Like, how can I start building a relationship with them to be a part of this very formative, important part of their life? I think about, I got to go on a men's retreat this weekend, or a little bit ago, with our church, and it was 30 men from our church, and we did it much more like Barber school. We spent all our time together for 2 days, instead of a couple hours a week together. And we got to really brush up against each other a lot more than we normally get to. And I got to teach about silence and solitude, and like teach from First Kings about Elijah's experience with God. And then I got to say, all right, go outside and go spend an hour just alone with God and just be with him. And then we came back together, and in small groups we debriefed. How was it? Were you bored? Was it awkward? Like those kind of experiential things. That was the church. That was my church. It wasn't our normal practices, but it was a special thing that we got to do together. Even that night we did talk about community. And after we did the talk on community, we just had this time of, we called it shield block. It was prayer for one another. It was, if you're dealing with this, come into the middle. And all the other guys came and put our hands on them. And then it was, has anyone had victory in this area? Would you pray over them? And so it was guys who had walked through that kind of a marriage difficulty, or that kind of a struggle with child, or that kind of loneliness, praying over the guys. And it was experiential. There was victory. There was excitement. There was the Spirit's conviction. There was true brotherhood and honesty and vulnerability, being there for one another. It's like the Barber school with, I don't know if I can do this. And the other guy's going, yes, you can. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And like,
Well,
they're also, yeah, you go.
I was just going to add, and you mentioned it earlier, you know, if people are thinking about how do I do this in my church, or maybe you're a minister or aspiring minister or whatever, you know, trade school isn't just experiential. It is that classroom time too.
Yeah.
Like it's just allowing both of those things to shape us. And I think maybe figuring out, where do you fall on that spectrum of like, I run a classroom, like I do classroom discipleship, or do I just do experiential experience? You know, am I just in the field? Are we just doing missions? But there's not a theological backing to it that does come from, hey, we're going to sit under the teaching of the word. So I think as we're trying, how do we do it? It's holding one thing in both hands and saying, okay, we need to teach and we need to do, and placing like proper, you know, time and resources behind each of those things. Not falling into the temptation just to teach and teach and teach to where we just get bloated and we never do anything, and not just do, that we look around and we're like, wait, why are we doing this? So, yeah, I'm just, if we're maybe trying to give some direction for people, if they're like, so really, how do I do that? Just do a self-eval. Like, what do I do more of, and what do I need to do less of? And how do I let one inform the other, and that teaching and doing, spectrum, I guess.
Yeah, just remembering Jesus calls us to teach them to obey. And very often Christians are educated beyond our obedience. We know what we should do, and then we don't. And so I've heard someone say, like, I don't think we need more teaching. I think we just need to do the last thing we knew that we needed to do and we didn't do.
Let's go. Well, in the spirit of more teaching, do you guys have any, I'm curious if you guys have any book recommendations. Obviously, Noah, Practicing the Way, John Mark Comer. But as we've thought about these things, do you guys have any books on like discipleship or spiritual formation, or like that doing, or anything that have been really helpful for you over the years?
Yeah, I mean, you can't talk about spiritual formation without talking about Richard Foster. Celebration of Discipline. I feel like, honestly, I think I want to do a whole series. I just taught a class on this, so maybe our next podcast season will be on. I'll just reteach my class. How about that?
Oh yeah,
there you go.
I've already done the work, so yeah, anything by Richard Foster is really advantageous in this. And then yeah, that's who I'll put. I don't want to give away everything right now.
There you go. And you had mentioned Celebration of Discipline as a good place to start.
Yeah.
I like that idea, because that's kind of where John Mark Comer ends up with Practicing the Way. He's like, okay,
Mm.
so how do we practice the way of Jesus in our lives? And he comes back to it's spiritual disciplines. It's thinking of our lives in spiritual practices. And he even kind of gives like people who are really well versed in the spiritual disciplines almost treat them like prescriptions for things. Like, oh, you've really been struggling with your desires? Okay, then you
Go
need
be
to do
alone.
some. You need to, yeah, exactly. You need some fasting. Like, you need to just like work through what it means to be hungry and be okay with that. You know, like you feel over exhausted, overstimulated. You need time
Go be
to
alone.
in solitude. Go be alone.
It's just always solitude. It's always solitude.
Jamie's like, shut the door. Like, that's
Don't
the
talk to me.
prescription.
That's
Love
good.
it.
Sam, do you have a book?
I've never read a book in my life.
Oh, you should try it. They're... Hey,
No,
Can I tell a joke?
yeah.
I don't like this show, so I'm going to talk about it. But Caitlin loves it. It's Alf. It's an
Alf, really?
yeah, and one of the jokes is, it's a tragedy. The library on Molmac burnt down. All 2 books burnt down, and one of them they didn't even get all of it colored in.
That's what they do at the library. They color in books.
It's a coloring book. That's how dumb they are. That's the joke. Is their library's full of coloring books.
Nice.
Alf,
I'll just-
man, why is that show not on TV anymore?
Yeah, no, I can't
I
believe the
watched it.
show.
I can tell you, it's not needs to be. It doesn't need to be. It can be stuck in the 80s.
Just for more, like on the discipleship, there's a book called Rediscovering Discipleship, Making Jesus' Final Words Our First Work. Is a really good. Is a really good
It's a
read
long
on.
title.
It is. It's a subtitle.
Oh.
I'll link that one if you're interested in more of these conversations about like how do we work out discipleship like in churches and communities and stuff. This has been a really fun conversation, Noah. Thank you,
Noah, and thank you, John Mark Comer. Hey, you should have your friend John Mark Comer on the next episode. You should just text him, tell him to get on.
Yeah, he's gotten a little big, hasn't he?
Yeah, he kind of messaged us. He's like, I feel like if I come on your show, it would really be detrimental to his own like, ego and stuff. Just if we, if he came on Staircase to Nowhere, he might be a little proud. So we're just trying to look out for our boy.
That for him.
Our boy JMC.
It's a dumb
Wow.
joke.
Okay. Staircase that to somewhere. Where does this conversation go? What is one takeaway for you from thinking about what discipleship looks like as experiential learning?
My takeaway is I'd like to read this book by one JMC.
Well, we have 2 copies. We can let you borrow one of them.
I wonder if they have it at the library.
Oh, I bet you
Support
could
your
request
local
it if
library.
it's not there yet.
Yeah. That's a dumb takeaway, but that's my takeaway is I'm going to read the book. Because we can all learn more. There's my takeaway. I can continue to learn more. Sure. There we go.
I feel like you know everything about discipleship, don't you?
I'm not dead yet. I'll know all about it when I'm dead. Oh, there's a lesson there.
I feel like I have room to grow in the, we're talking about just that doing and learning tension. I feel like I have more room to grow in my doing. Like I like to talk and like to read and like to think. But I just feel the conviction, or I feel like that's where my area to grow is personally and like in my community. Letting these truths inform my hands and feet. So Noah, give us something good. Give us something good and powerful to end this whole thing.
Hit us hard.
Make us cry.
I really want to, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing with my life.
Dang, this ending is deep.
Our best one yet.
When I think about like things in ministry I've enjoyed the most, it's like when I'm leading others on mission and I'm like teaching us how to do something to serve the community and like be engaged with others. And so I would love to get to do something like that in the church. If it's like living like a mission trip in our hometown, leading serve days or having regular ways that we engage with neighbors. Like, I think that having like a missions team, but they're like a local missions team, and they're people
That's
who are
cool.
committed to serving together, that would be really cool experience.
All right, Atlanta Metro hiring pastors.
They coming for you.
Who
Noah's
wants
your
one
guy.
of these?
Who wants one of
For
these?
a
I got one.
full-time salary.
Yeah.
Plus benefits.
Oh, Rebecca's got great benefits. We're fine.
Oh,
Not needed.
no benefits needed.
No benefits needed. Well, I
Well-
think this has been our show, right? Is this it?
It technically is our show.
We own this. Yeah, this is our
We
show.
have this copyrighted.
Who would
It's
want
not
it?
our show.
David, not to worry. Practicing the Way is available in the Taylor University Zondervan Library main collection.
Hey.
Next time you're over there, go and grab it. I'm going to text you the Dewey Decimal and get it before
Thank
anyone
you.
else does.
Wow.
Thank you.
Dorkasaurus on the loose.
I love
I'm gonna text you
libraries.
I'll text you the Dewey Decimal.
First three numbers, it's a 50 something. Is it 50?
232?
No, it's 2.
232C34P.
I'm ending this. I'm ending
Watch
this
out.
now.
It's right
I'm
next to
ending this
donkeys
now.
in the biblical world, ceremony and symbol.
Okay.
How did you find that?
I don't know.
I'm
It came up
ending the
next.
show.
You'll
We're
never
not
silence
talking
us.
about library
You'll never-
organization.
At the library.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. This has been Staircase to Nowhere. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can
Numbers
email
mean
us at-
nonfiction.
at staircasepod@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram. And that's all. There's not a Facebook affiliate. There's not any other
Don't
social
join that.
media.
It is a scam.
It's
They
a
will send you
scam.
AI art of your poodle.
No.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. Go and learn, go and do, go in peace.
Oh,
Uh,
yes. All right. Is that your benediction
That's
for
our
church?
That's our liturgy. And
Really?
no, all out. All right. Bye.
Bye.